Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gfinity Starcraft Masters, the Summer Edition. And you will have noticed that Jeff has had a bad case of the Slimmers. He is over here, a fraction of... No, of course, it is Penguin who was just doing the cast in that game there. Thanks for joining us on the analysis desk.
No worries.
Awesome. And next to him, it's still Stefano. He's definitely not out of breath from having run up the stairs. He doesn't know what 10 minutes means, but that's... Apart from in bed, obviously.
Well, I've been said 10, but it was 7, actually. You know?
Yeah.
That's the only issue, right?
Yeah, that was the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Somebody's lying.
Yeah, he is.
Come to the bottom of
The
this.
thing is, I'm just going to let him get away with it because he's out of breath. I don't want to get into an argument. It might kill him. Anyway, look, I mean, great previous series. I may as well ask just a few brief things about that. You were talking a little bit how, maybe you feel Departure could have done a little bit better there. So
Yeah, I didn't really like his decision in the last game there. He went for a build that, like Jeff talked about a bit, it's extremely good against mech. It is essentially close to a free win if the mech player doesn't see it coming. The problem is, like, you can do a very similar build that hits 60 to 80 seconds later and has +1/+1 at the same number of roaches. The difference is that it's slightly worse against mech because it hits later, but it works against bio and mech, which is what I think is a lot better about it. So I kind of would have liked to see him go for something like that. And he made Lings to scout, which is something he didn't do in the other two games. And it would have been nice for him to at least try to poke in with that or like send in an Overlord, since he was going for a build that's only works versus mech. It would have been nice for him to check if it was mech first. So I didn't really like that decision by Departure.
Oh, well, he's got plenty of time to sort of think about what went wrong and maybe put it right for the next game. But
he has another mech match now.
Yeah,
he's playing Marine Lords.
So let's get into Snute versus Bling. Now, in the introduction,
Yeah.
I believe you said Bling is Bling has already lost Stefano
Basically, yeah.
2015. So
Bling has lost, yeah.
talk us through what that means in the context of
What
this
that
matchup.
means is Bling is confident. He can't do bad in here because whatever what he does, I mean, it's hard to explain it in English. Anyway,
No, I get what you're saying.
like whatever what the result will be, he will be happy with it because he knows that he's supposed to lose anyway. So if he wins one map, he's happy. If he wins two maps, he's happy. If he wins 3 maps, he's happier and he won a series or something.
Yeah.
And right now, I think in his mind, the way he should be playing this game is just go for it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Don't be scared or anything. Don't think Snute is good in there. He's actually really good in CVP, Snute,
Yeah.
and he's known for that. But since you have this advantage, this edge in terms of like mind games and stuff, like because you're the one who will be in the lead, you will be the one taking the decision when you don't have anything to lose. So Snute will be on the back foot, and he will be just taking the shot from Bling, and that's a position like Apotos would like to be in, I think. So the fact that Snute is scared might give Bling a chance.
Yeah,
but he's still an outsider for that. So.
Oh, massively so, the hometown hero. But let's ask your thoughts. I mean, what's Bling like against Zerg? I mean, and is there something that Protoss can do to sort of catch the Zerg off guard inherently?
Well, Protoss can definitely try to catch the Zerg off guard. There's a lot of cheeky all-ins you can do. There's a lot of really nice builds, timing attacks, even some macro plays that are very, very strong. A lot of Protosses are opting for Blink Stalk or Sentry sort of style off 3-base, which is very popular nowadays. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see Bling do something like that. But I'm a little worried for him because, like Stefano said, he's playing against Snute, who has extremely strong ZVP right now. Snute just came off an IEM performance where he beat the GSL and SSL champions back-to-back in ZVP. That's a little scary for Bling going into this. It's a bit iffy.
Snute is really good at playing standard Protoss. Like, he will be used to play against someone who goes 3-base and masters of units and goes to Colossi and High Templars and everything. And he knows how to play against that. So if Bling tries to do it, and he's not as good as the other Korean Protoss and stuff, so he can't really achieve as much as them. And if he goes for a standard play, I don't feel like he will be able to just resist against Snute because he's so prepared for this kind of play style. So maybe something more cheeky, how you say.
Right. So, I mean, okay, you used to play Zerg. I know obviously the meta is different now, but I want you to do a visualization exercise. Imagine. What could Bling do, strategy-wise, that would potentially throw you off?
For me, it would be not an all-in, but something which would just kind of kill Snute, like kill drones, Oracles, DT, something like that, or Blink all-ins and stuff like that. Like a lot of 2-base play, then go on 3-base, but don't try to kill the opponent straight away on 2-base. Yeah. that's a bit risky as well. Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
Kind of similarly, I think I'd really like to see Bling go for heavy pressure builds, but not all-in builds, under the sort of pretense that he's hoping for Snute to overreact to the defense so he can get ahead with that third base. Stuff like 4-gate Oracle or just like 4-gate Zealot pressure, stuff like that that can do really good damage if you catch the Zerg off guard while expanding behind it and then maybe going for a 3-base push with Blink Stalker Sentry or something similar to that off the back of it.
Okay, well, we'll see if the maps are going to factor in to any strategy. We've had the veto. It's just come in now. We'll bring that up for you guys. And you can see there what maps have been removed and what we're going to have. Now, we did say we felt Coda was going to be a go-to.
Coda is going to be the first every single time, I feel like. Oh, it's going to be at least in the every single series.
But let's talk about the maps that got banned out and if there's anything there.
Cactus Valley. Interesting map. It's hard to say. It depends a lot on the initial position you find yourself in. If you're close position, the Protoss will be really happy about it because he can expand and then just attack you, and it's one path. And for the Zerg to counterattack, he has to do a whole circle around the map. It's really tricky for him. If it's close position, the Zerg will be extremely happy, Bling less. But yeah, like some Zerg will tend to go like 3 hatcheries before gas on this kind of map, big maps, because the Protoss can't really scout straight away. And yeah, if that happens, I think Bling has actually a shot because he can do the 2-base pressure and then hope for something to happen.
I think on Cactus Valley, it's also important to note, like, Cactus Valley is statistically pretty good for Protoss against Zerg, just because there's a lot of chokes everywhere. And like Stefano said, you really want to try to go for, on a 4-player map, like a really early third before the Protoss can really see where you are and punish you for it. But at the same time, if he doesn't scout the location of Bling, he's kind of 50-50ing on whether he's towards Bling or away from Bling. And if he goes towards Bling by accident, then he can pretty much just die to an Immortal all-in or something like that. It becomes extremely difficult to hold that against the Protoss because you're so close to the Protoss and the map is full of chokes, which is pretty much heaven for an Immortal all-in.
I mean, we've talked a lot about Bling here. Let's talk about Snute. You're talking about the fantastic performance he's just had recently. I mean, you know, this is the guy that was wearing that sort of best foreigner crown. Where do we feel he is right now? I mean, everyone talks about what a monster he is. Do we still rate him as highly as we did, say, 6 months ago?
I would say he's still one of the best. Just the actual meta right now is not really favoring Zerg. That's why he's struggling a bit more, I think. But in terms of like pure skill, I think he's like way smarter than any other players in terms of decisions and mind games and all of that. He's like a next level compared to actual European we have nowadays.
I think the problem for Snute right now, like Stefano said, the meta doesn't really favor Zerg, and I think it also really doesn't favor Snute, because Snute's the kind of guy who likes to sit back, macro, and win with his mechanics. He knows he's better than almost everybody with his mechanics, so he can just win in a long macro game. But a lot of the Zerg wins nowadays are coming from like really clever 2 or 3 base all-ins, some like double Roach Warren all-ins, stuff like that that tries to catch the Protoss off guard, because it's really difficult to win in the late game against the Blink Stalker Sentry Immortal Storm kind of composition. And Snute's the kind of guy who likes to sit back. He likes to sit back and defend, but then he ends up in a position where he's playing against a harder-to-kill Protoss army. So I still think he's one of the best foreigners. I think the answer to this question might have been a little different a few weeks ago, but after his IEM performance, it's very difficult to argue that he's not definitely still one of the best foreigners. When you take out Reigning Classic back-to-back, that's pretty impressive no matter who you are.
Well, now he's got to go up against Bling. So
rough.
Yeah, we're going to go over to our casters. It's going to be Jorisaran in control. He's everywhere, this Jeff character. Anyway, take it away, lad.
Thank you very much, guys. And yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup here, Jeff. I mean, there's no getting away from it. Snute has just posted some excellent results against some really top-tier Protosses. And the first question we have to ask is whether Bling can do it, whether he can pull it out of the bag here.
You know, even in kind of the opening of the show, Stefan was talking about, well, actually, I think he said this before the show even started, so a little bit of behind the scenes. Bling was partying in the Spaniard Ocean, I believe it was, or somewhere else, wherever super mega attractive people go. Okay, sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was shirtless, I'm sure.
Not
training a whole bunch is the point we're trying to make, and Stefano was kind of like, is Bling the guy that can come off of a week of not playing StarCraft and beat a player like Snute? And I think actually Bling has basically made a career off of doing almost that almost every time. He's a very dangerous player. He hasn't won any big tournaments, but he can beat anybody, and I think that's kind of what makes him in an 8-man tournament like this particularly dangerous. Snute is he's one of the absolute best. They kind of analyzed that to death there, and they talked about how he's on the cusp of being the favorite to win any tournament he enters, but not quite there. Bling could be a road stop.
Well, I think that's the kind of that's almost the kind of mindset we're talking about, where most of the pro players have the same reaction, where they go, "You haven't played StarCraft in the last week. How are you going to win anything?" And like you said, well, Bling's he's had a history of being able to do that. So these are the maps that we're going to be playing. As we predicted in the last best of 3, Coda is probably going to be the first map, first or second, I reckon, forever and a day. And then we have switching it up a little bit. We've got some Cactus Valley action going on, I think, and then Terraform to form a decider here.
And I think it'll be some rotation of that. But let us do this now. Let's have a caster agreement, a caster union. Coda is going to be one of the most popular maps.
Yes.
And so it was said, and so it will be.
Will there be a best of 3 without Coda?
Probably not.
Probably not.
But we should put it to bed right now. Otherwise, I don't know what could happen. Stefano could come back to pro gaming. Huck will win another tournament. Like, really crazy things could happen again. But here we are. We're in the game, Coda and Jarasar, please.
All right. So, first game of this best of 3. Player's been to Korea and has a lot to prove, or rather has proven most of it already, and is now trying to climb onto the top step here. But he's got plenty of games to do before he gets to the finals tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Team Liquid.net, on a run of good form, can Snute keep it up?
Jarasar, I'm going to back you up. You don't worry. You do you. If Snute's got a lot to prove to you, stake your claim, man. I like it.
Snute,
maybe he's not quite proven to you yet. You know what I mean?
he's proven himself to reign in Classic.
Unimpressed, Jarasar. Unimpressed. But was the last tournament you won, like a month ago?
But I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what. One of the biggest reasons I like this player in the top left is because I think he is coming into this tournament with, well, he might have everything to prove, but I think he's taking it, like, he has a really laid-back approach. He's very optimistic about his gameplay, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do my best, and his attitude has just been fantastic. And, of course, attitude doesn't win you tournaments, right? But he's coming at it from a very gung-ho, aggressive sort of attitude where he says, yeah, I'm going to win every game. Guys, it's Dignitas Bling, homegrown hero in the top left, and I do want to see him come out fighting. I don't know if he can win the series, but I want to see some, like, sick games from Bling, and I feel like he's in a mood to deliver as well.
Absolutely. We're already seeing something a little bit different. This is going to be a gateway first at kind of the wall-in area. That in and of itself is not super strange. We see a lot of gateway followed by Nexus builds. But to put it in a forward position like this makes it a little bit dangerous against early pool type openings. And we don't see necessarily an early pool from Snute, but we do see a pool first. So that could end up... I don't even want to... I'm not going to do the cast. I was going to be like, it could end up being a liability. Probably not. If that's like a 9 or 10 pool, yeah. It's bothersome to have to spend the extra money to wall in with like a pylon and another gateway or a cyber square. Like, it gets expensive at that point in time, but here we can see the next will go down comfortably. After this, there should be perhaps a Zealot. It's if he wants to be a little more aggressive. He is supply block right now, so of course... probably not a Zealot. That would be a super magical Zealot. It would be amazing. But he's just going to go standard, pylon, gas, cybernetics core for the wall-in, and otherwise just a very normal opening.
Okay. And from Snute's point of view in this kind of matchup, I mean, looking at the groups, at the end of the day, Snute is, preparing a lot of ZVZ right now. Does this open the door, perhaps, for Bling to maybe prepare something specifically? Especially since, you look at the other players in the group as well. Bling hasn't done that well against True in the last couple of weeks. They played in the Gfinity Cup. What would Bling be able to do here to try and gain the upper hand against Snute?
He is going to be a little bit of the afterthought for everyone in this group, and that's not a diss to Bling. It's just kind of a cold reality of it. It's a nice position to be in many ways. People did not look at this group and say, well, I got to work out what I'm going to do against Bling. Like, they're thinking about True, they're thinking about Snute, and as a distant afterthought, there comes Bling. The other kind of thing to really talk about is, let's dispel this. Like, if this was a WCS Finals and this group was announced 2 or 3 weeks in advance, I would talk more about how, wow, Bling's the only Protoss, so they probably hardcore trained ZVZ and didn't even think about PVZ and that kind of thing. But
sure,
it's Gfinity. This is a showcase of players' talents and work and who they are as players in a different format, and only an 8-player tournament. So it's kind of nice in that way. But I don't think what it is these guys sat and like ground out games in a Siberian fortress under, like they were. It wasn't. Let's not pretend. So it's more just that. This is the storyline I'm looking at. Is Snute is one of the absolute best. Bling is certainly not. But Bling is very dangerous and has made a career of giving great series to players that are, quote-unquote, the better player. And in a Gfinity on his home turf like this where Bling does play better, it would be really cool for him to give a big show and beat Snute here.
I think to summarize what you're saying as well is that Bling doesn't get affected by pressure in the way a lot of other players get affected by pressure on a big stage, which is why when sometimes you rock up to a tournament, you go, this person's very easily favored against Bling, and Bling pulls a 2-0 out of the hat. Everyone goes, whoa, what's going on? And in Bling's mind, it's like, well, I just showed up and played. There was no expectation. I just played my best. And he's really good at absorbing that kind of pressure. So Snute, yeah, he's the favorite to win this series, but he does still have to stay on his toes.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think the other thing, too, is Bling's kind of constantly underrated in a lot of ways. Like, that European scene is jam-packed with a lot of fantastic Protoss players in particular. So a lot of the times when you name the best Protosses, you're not thinking Bling, but he is of that talent. And it's just, it would be nice to see him start to kind of back that up. This last WCS, he really pulled for that. I got to witness it at Homestrike Cup where he was staying afterwards and practicing. He changed his flight so it wouldn't interfere with practice. He played it from Take's house. And it was actually really heartbreaking for him to not qualify because that was something he worked really hard for. So it's the Bling story is really funny and interesting to me and cool because he is that young, super, I cannot emphasize this enough, he is so freaking handsome. They
don't call him superstar for no reason,
He's just
man.
a handsome son of a bitch, that guy. And on top of that, he's got great gaming skills and he's just a good person. But he's also, like, he's kind of that struggle encapsulated as well. Like, he's a pro gamer who has never had the big result, but is of the caliber of dealing with that and putting out those results. So it's kind of fun to cheer him on and see which tournament is going to be the breakout one.
Yeah, he's getting. Well, he is at that point where, and he has been for a while, to be honest, where, like you say, he's not quite the top of the top drawer players, but he's always been good enough to take games off of anyone. Yeah. And that's what makes him really dangerous. Now we see Snute, he's moving out now with an awful lot, with more Lings off the back of this, by the way, so he hasn't gone back to droning or anything like that. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to be able to spot that instantaneously. And Bling's got a bunch of sentries right now, so he probably doesn't want them out in the open. But it's so difficult when you can so easily split the natural and third here.
Bling's got a bit of an interesting situation here. Like, yes, it is mostly a sentry-dense army, but he actually warped in quite a few cans over the third as well. He's going to force field off the majority of this force, and with just the sentries and the zealots here, he's going to push this at least off the natural ramp. But over at that third, there is soon to be a photon overcharge, and there's several cannons, so that's actually not a great target for Snute either. Snute, perhaps knowing this, is going to the natural. A few misplaced force fields there did cost him a sentry or two, but still a defense here is mounting. And if you look behind this, Snute is producing drones. That in and of itself is like not the biggest of deal, but if Snute doesn't get in here and deal some damage beyond, hey, I've forced out a bajillion force fields, this was not a very good attack by him. And part of the reason why he swelled up with so many forces is because for a lot of Zergs, it's very automatic. Hey, if I make 40 Roaches and Infinity Zerglings, that third should die. But in this case, Snute did not get the damage done. Looking at supplies, army-wise, very similar, and Harvesters, very similar. So at first glance, it's like, okay, well, Snute's not in terrible position, but actually, it's a lot worse than it looks. 3-base versus 3-base favors the Protoss.
Well, Bling played that really patiently, to be honest. You can see the gap between the first and second force fields. It wasn't a rush like, I'm planting 5 force fields down in half a second. It was very carefully placed. And yes, he lost a sentry or two. But what I thought was quite interesting from Snute's point, I've seen a lot of games ZVP online where the Zerg sort of pushes the first set of force fields, sees the proton overcharge go down at the third, and then just backs off and waits until the Mothership Core doesn't quite have enough energy to do that, and then make a push for the third. It felt like Snute was really trying to break through at that instant. Is there any merit to him maybe holding back a little?
To Bling holding back?
No, to Snute holding back, like forcing the first set of force fields as soon as you see the photon overcharge, you just wait 60 seconds
as
and
a
go
better
again.
strategy?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think there would be something to that if it weren't for the fact that Bling did not strand his force out in the middle, trying to defend both the natural and third. He opted for the cannons at the third, saying, yeah, if you go up there, the cannons plus the photon overcharge will be more than enough to defend, which is the mistake a lot of Protoss make, and I say that as I feel like I'm like a doctor in that field, like some kind of weird, super experienced bad Protoss, where I would tell you if you try to bite off more than you can chew, it ends up hurting you a lot here. Now, Bling has been really diligent with his scouting. He sees that Spire Tech. What's kind of interesting about that is that there was also a Hydra Den, and he's not really, like, that's kind of weird, because that's either or, right? If you make a lot of Phoenix, but 0 Corruptors, 0 Mutas show up, and it's just pure Hydra, you're pretty boned.
He's going for both.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's kind of what's, well, he has both, to your credit, but actually, so far, no mutas, no corruptors, and it's just Hydras with Hydra back. Oh, no, there's 7 mutas. My bad. I didn't see that. Which is, it's like a fake, but I feel like Bling's ahead of it. He saw it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see, the tech switches when one or the other doesn't work, as we have a little bit of harassment going on inside the main base here. Nothing, too strenuous to start off with, as a Phoenix has joined the party. But behind this, he's not starting to make Hydras now. He's already got him on the field.
A little bit of a mistake. I think I heard the Photon Overcharge go off on the main, so it was kind of a Protoss. Yeah. I know those feels. He was like, oh god, and then he just like did it. And it took time to get over there and still did it. But behind this, as you said, Jarsar, it was a fake. It was just the 7 Mutalisk. And now Bling really needs to use kind of the backbone of those original, I believe it was 37 sentries are made. I'm just kidding, it was like 8, but now there's like 7. That's more than enough to kind of make up the difference in that mistake. Like, he's like, he's made a bunch of Phoenix. You can see he's backed off, by the way. He stopped because he knows now it's a fake. But if he would have just kept making more Phoenix and had something like 3 or 4 sentries, he's kind of stuck. That's not enough to force field off this gigantic Roach Hydra Ling army, and he'd be in a lot of trouble. But because of his early game's decisions and the good scouting here, he knows not to make too many Phoenix.
Yeah, he's left air weapons level 1 to complete, which, I guess it might come in useful a little bit later in the game. We're not condemning anyone for that. Snute looking to posture out in the middle of the map now. He's basically completely full up as far as supply is concerned. So he probably wants to make something happen soon, but the presence of the warp prisms here seems to have spooked him just a little bit. He's going to regroup. Just
a little bit. And I'll tell you what, there's a couple things at play here. Like Snute's creep, not fantastic. In fact, if you look, there's just a couple active tumors. He's not really connected between his 3rd and 4th base. He's only on 4 bases. He's stuck, as you said, maxed out on this Roach Hydra Ling army. That needs to trade, and it needs to trade quick. But against that Protoss army, I mean, if you just get force fielded off and die to some stalker laser beams, that's like the worst death possible. Not a good trade. So Snute's in this weird spot where pretty much everything he's tried out so far just hasn't really panned out. Now some DT's warped in.
Oh, splitting
and there is a Spore Crawler. He needed that so bad.
And to each base as well. Just the one queen in the natural expansion. The DT's now running around, trying their best to be annoying. It looks like the one in the natural is going to go. And here comes the attack now. +2 and +1 armor, both completed prior to this starting. So Snute buying himself a little bit of time. And like you said, Jeff, he's not trying to take on the army head on. He doesn't want that huge inefficient trade. He wants to sneak in, do some damage, and see if he can pick off some workers. But he's not going to get that opportunity. Bling's defending.
This is the best that he could hope for, and he's force fielded in. His army's divided. The Lings died for free. Bling is going to town on this. Bling has not been caught trying to take an overeager 4th. He has not had a faulty tech path other than perhaps the Phoenix, which again was minimal at best. And all of a sudden, Snute loses this entire army. And what does he remax on? I believe I saw it's just more Hydralisk coming out. And he has to make something right now. He's not at Hive yet. He doesn't have, like, any other option. I think maybe a Mutalisk remax would have been kind of cool. But even then, he knows there's double Stargate for a reaction, and there's a ton of Bling Stalker. So this is that really tough spot for Zerg where it's like, I'm going to opt for Hydra, but I don't feel confident about it.
This is really high risk, high reward. I mean, the Hydras, they're so squishy, but they're also so high DPS. As soon as you get the sniff of an engagement, you just have to take it. You can't sit and take a couple of volleys, because if a third of your Hydras go down because they're so squishy, well, that's game.
Only 2 sentries here. Bling's going to want to make more. He only has the 2, and actually, if you look at it, there's like a force field between all of them as is. So ask and you shall receive. Bling sees the same thing. We are, after all, Protoss brothers in that way.
Using your Protoss psychic link. That's technically against the rules, man.
That's how we eat too. Protoss, they absorb the sun and they eat psychically. But a warp in the main, gonna try for that again. And again, this is kind of a hard spot for Snute. I feel like something Snute has to do is commit. And right now he's like, I'm gonna concave this army at the bottom. But as he's doing that, he's losing up inside the main. In fact, the Hive getting targeted here, I think it's a little ambitious.
Yeah, with the Hydras in such close proximity, I don't think
it was a positional thing, though. Here comes Protoss.
Oh, wow. And yeah, he's moving down both locations to try and stop them from actually attacking the Zealots in the main base as well. So dividing the attention of Snute here, and Bling moving forward as one unit.
I mean, he got away from the warp prison. He doesn't have any warp in here. Look at the sentry count. It's very low. He is getting off that creep, so it looks like he will be able to escape.
Did he get the Hive?
He did get the Hive inside the main. So the win here was chopping down the tech inside the main, but don't count Snute out just yet. He's going to push forward here. He does have the supply advantage, army advantage slightly, but I feel like if Bling would have stuck around and fought there, that's how he throws the game away. Him backing away, remaxing, knowing that he also has DT tech, by the way. If he picks off the Overseers, that's his kind of get out of jail free card here, and there's that Overseer limping in. That is not a lot of detection.
No,
and Bling's got to be feeling good about his position in this game.
I really like how Bling was just playing on very, very solid basics there. We're looking at the Hive just long enough to say, well, you know, if the Zealots get distracted somehow, boom, that's exactly when he moves down the ramp and allows the Zealots to pick that up. Because Snute had Hydras near the Zealots there. He might have been able to save that if that was his only focal point, right?
Yeah.
And now Bling has to stay calm and basically survive until this onslaught is over. Oh, he's going to come at it from both sides, though. Good preemptive force fields on the left, but he now needs to move the Stalkers away from that.
But again, I mean, something to go back to what you said earlier, Jarsar, that I thought was a very good comment. You talked about patience. And Bling, a lot of Protoss would have thrown up the force field to trap in that army on the right side of that fight, but having done so, would have expelled all ability to deflect the army on the left side.
Yep.
Snute, however, has gotten between the two natural and third. The problem here is while he has the advantage of kind of having that concave at the low ground, where does he go from here? If he goes to high ground inside the natural or third, I feel like he just loses that fight. Aggressive Blink forward, though, from Bling. And this is the best chance for Snute to do a lot of damage. Does he have the ability to? I believe so. Bling is going to back away, just a little overeager with that Blink. Massive supply advantage for Snute. I mean, if he was ever going to be able to do it, it's right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about that Blink, to be honest. I mean, Snute was always going to be able to take down the building to the front of the wall. I think Blink just has to accept that and slowly whittle it away. He's going down now, but so much DPS from these Hydras. Like we said, high risk, high reward. Yes, Blink can kill them quickly, but they can also kill him quickly, and Snute has the advantage when it comes to remaxing and sending units over the map. He's at 190 supply.
And all of a sudden, Snute is in that high ground now. Cybernetics Core down dead. As we saw from our observer there, that means it's just Zealots being warped in, and they are just terrible against this composition. And Bling is just left on the high ground kind of watching it happen. The problem here is, like, losing the natural is not the worst thing to happen. Losing his army, the big kind of death ball of Protoss, is what's starting to cost him. And I feel like he's gone in too far. I don't think he can recover from here.
I completely agree. I'm looking for ways for Bling to come back in here. He's doing a good job with this group, I suppose, just trying to pick off the reinforcements here, but I feel like, especially without the Cybernetics Core for so long, it might be a bit of a too little too late.
I feel like that could be the case. The natural has been sacked. The Dark Shrine is dead as well, so forget about those hopes and dreams of the Ninja comeback. He's going to have to remake it for a chance. He's down 100 supply, and again, I got to say this, like, Snute only on 4 bases, just now taking kind of like a token fifth. It's not being mined at all. Was able to capitalize on something that Bling was doing fantastic all game long, and then when it really counted, kind of lost out on. It was that patience that you were talking about, Jarisar, and GG's called out, but, I mean, he was doing such a good job of, like, okay, here I am. I'm going to fight, but I don't need to overcommit. I can back off. I can get that hive. I can do little victories that build up to a big victory. But when push came to shove and Snute says, hey, I'm in your front door and you need to make these hard choices on your terms, all of a sudden Bling overcommits to a couple of fights, that aggressive Blink forward, and that's all it took, and Snute never looked back.
Yeah, I don't want to read too much into that, but I feel like the look on Snute's face is almost one of relief there. I think he recognized that Bling was just doing so well for so much of that game. And I think even though Snute came away with the 1-0 there,
there's the other look too, and that's the look of a guy that says, I was about to beat Snute, and I threw it away. And it's so hard, because Bling was doing what when Zergs and Terrans complain about Protoss, they talk about force fields, and they talk about just not being able to do any damage. And Bling was embodying that perfectly. He was harassing, not doing amazing damage, but just enough. Every time Snute tried some kind of aggressive tactic, it was met with great force fields, patient play, good Blink back, like really good fundamental Protoss play. And just at the end, when Bling got up to 4 bases, which is supposed to be the invincible stage, just the Protoss doesn't lose from here, that's when, ironically, he lost it from there.
It's really almost waiting a little bit too long when that army got between the natural and the 3rd base as well. That big Blink down, but I think he had like a massive warp in his Zealots or something very similar about 3 seconds after that major Blink down. And he could have given himself a much more solid footing. But that does mean that Snute is going to take map number 1. Bling has so many positives to take away from that game, and I really hope that he comes away from that game going, oh, well, I might be the underdog, but I've basically just proven I can beat Snute. Like, it's so hard when you're in the game and playing like that to think that thought, but from our point of view and what we could see, that is just fundamentally true.
I don't know that Bling sits back and is like, I don't think he's like, well, at least I proved I can beat him after just losing a game that he was way ahead. I think it's more that he's right now chasing back the demon voice that is like, you should be 1-0 right now in a short best of 3.
Yeah, he needs to put that out of his head.
Bling's beat Snute before. Like, Bling's not so... he's not so down on himself. He's like, oh, man, if I can do it, you boy, guys, I can do it. Like, Snute's very good. Snute is the more accomplished player. Bling, too, though, is a guy that plays against him on the ladder on a daily basis. He's rubbed elbows with him at all the tournaments. Like, Bling belongs in this category. It's just that he did not seal the deal in that first game. So the biggest challenge for him is not saying... I don't think it's taking positives away from that game that's his big concern. It's shutting out the negative voice in his head that's now saying, you just lost it, you just threw it away. Like, that's the tilting factor that so many players have to fight against. And
we saw it just now as well. He was still shaking his head just a little bit. And hopefully he's casting that aside as we load into the second game. It was the fist pound on the desk,
I know,
Jeff.
I pounded the desk and the screen turned off.
And the screen just disappeared. They couldn't take it.
The rage.
But we're going to be hopping into game number 2 now, ladies and gents. The map is Cactus Valley. And spawning in the bottom right-hand position, representing Team Dignitas and the hopes and dreams of all the UK folk watching the stream right now.
Okay,
yeah,
good. I thought you were just going to say all of the UK, just in general.
And all of the... Well, no, I would say that, except I'm Australian, and there's this little thing called the cricket this morning that I really don't want to mention. Yeah, I am Australian. I'm Australian. Kind of from Hong Kong, but basically Australian. And for the purposes, I suppose, of the cricket, I'm from Hong Kong today. So that is all well and good. But guys, Dignitas Bling is in the bottom right. And he's facing off against the Team Liquid Zerg in the top right. Facing a bit of a scare in game number 1. Still able to come away with the win. We'll see if he can close it out now. It is Snute.
I don't know what I did. I've sent the screen into flicker mode, but cast despite it. Where does your name come from, by the way, Jarisar?
It's an abbreviation of my full name. It's super uncreative.
Oh my god.
But it's really strange because when I tell people that, they go, "Oh wow!" And I'm like, "Oh, it's like the first most obvious thing that popped into my head."
Well, what is your name?
John Robert Sargent.
Oh, okay. It literally is just a combination of your whole name.
It is just an abbreviation. It also explains like really annoying capitalization.
Okay.
It's actually just spelling my name. Super simple.
But it made into... I like it. It's not, I was going to guess like Pokemon or something like that, but it's actually...
No, man. Jorosaur, I get that a lot.
That's pretty cool. Your last name is Sargent?
It is.
What if... have you had any military people in your family?
Oh, I've never heard this one before, Jeff. Tell me all about it.
No,
I actually don't think I have. Or at least like not going back sort of
that
3 or 4 generations.
That is the most missed opportunity ever. Can you imagine like a corporal sergeant or something like that? He'd be sergeant, or he'd be corporal sergeant.
See, the problem with that is that I think you would actually get to sergeant, and there would be a reluctance to promote you, because for comedy value, you just have to stay at that rank on the ladder. You're just never going anywhere.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's a missed opportunity, but...
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'll think about it. There's still military service, I can try and go back to.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of militaries that would take you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure we can find a way to shove myself in there.
You can get there.
Yeah.
Speed opening from Snute. Little bit of a different opening. In fact, this is going to be, in my opinion, we're probably seeing a fairly weighted all-in. And we saw a gateway first from Bling. So if Snute's kind of reading off of that opening, he's saying, well, there's a chance here where I can jump in all over that Bling guy and end this series quick. But unfortunately for him, at least at right now, it's a bit of a tough read, because on this map you can wall in fairly easily, and it is just a narrow choke space, and we can see here Bling is making what could be one of the more abstract wall-ins we've seen in a long time. If that's... I have got no idea if that's a wall-in or not.
I think to the right of the gateway, there's definitely space.
Well, if there's space,
right?
He's screwed.
Is there?
Because he's got nothing blocking it. If he doesn't block that, he's in a lot of trouble. If he does block that, he should be in very good position.
Oh, no, maybe not. No, I take that back. I think that's a wall-in. Every time I see the gateway next to the forge like that, I just smile as well. Because, you know, casting my mind back now, when Bling won at Multiplay I-Series, there's a street name near the venue called Forge Gate.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And it took us 3 events before we finally saw a Protoss open a game with Forge Gate.
On the street of Forge Gate.
Yeah. Well, like half a mile down the road, but more or less.
It counts more than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think this is legit Forge Gate. So we're seeing it's an interesting improvised wall, but you know what? It's working for him right now. And I don't know. We'll see what kind of tech he chooses to switch into. I mean, is there anything in particular that you think is really strong PvZ on Cactus Valley?
Well, for right now, it's a little bit more short-sighted. I think Bling's looking at this saying, okay, he did scout up into the main, so I don't think he saw the gas. He did see the gas. So he's saying, well, how come these Lings don't have speed? And what is he doing with that gas? And if he knows Snute really well, he should know that Snute's not the kind of guy to go super crazy and be like, well, my Bling, you know, my Speedling attempt didn't work. I'm going one base Lurker. I'm going, or not Lurker, excuse me, but Swarm Host, or I'm going to do Quick Drop. Like, Snute will just fall back on his mainstay, which is very standard play. So I feel like Bling knows that. So if these things are answered, then I think his tech is going to be more of the same jar. So I wish I could tell you something different, but Protoss right now are very fanciful with the Blink Stalker and the Sentry. And they use that to get up to 3 bases or end the game before that if they can. And then you'll see reactive stuff. So we saw 2 Stargate earlier when Snute saw, or excuse me, when Bling saw Hydra and Spire. And that's about it. I wish I could tell you otherwise.
Well, I mean, from Snute's point of view as well, things are just looking pretty chilled out. I mean, he got his Zerglings and a couple of his Queens transferring over to the 3rd in position to try and deny the Zealot Scout if Bling wanted to push the issue. But as soon as he saw that Bling wasn't pushing it, he wasn't going after everything really quickly. He just wants to be able to go into his normal game. So all signs point to exactly what you just said. Now taking a lot more gas from a Zerg point of view now that he's continuing to drone up. And, I mean, he's got control of the tower. He's got good map vision right now. He's not overly concerned at what Bling's doing. Bling's just casually going ahead and saying, well, if you're not going to stop me taking a 3rd base, what are you going to do?
Well, as you said, you know, he has fairly good map vision. He sees that 3rd, and that's kind of a big answer. Like, from that, I mean, there was a time where people were doing, like, 8 gates with a 3rd cancel or just never really, you know, if you ask Stardust, you'll never saturate that 3rd, and that in and of itself can be a timing attack. Knowing Bling, this 3rd is pretty damn real. Like, yes, he's a Bling Stalker Sentry kind of guy, but as we saw in that first game, his real bread and butter, where he's going to win the day, is through defensive / pseudo-offensive play. It's like, I'm going to deflect your attacks, and then I'm going to push out,
and then carve it up there.
And I'm going to carve it up there. You're going to get overly aggressive. You're going to attack down a ramp that you shouldn't go down, and that is where Protoss win and lose. And it's pretty cool that in that first game we saw it embodied pretty well. When you miss those force fields, when you give up positioning, and all of a sudden that Zerg has a concave at the base of a ramp, if you try to take that fight, you know, we all make jokes about force fields, but for God's sakes, Protoss need them. Without it, the Stalkers just die really quickly. Immortal's not a great answer. And we didn't see that 3rd tech option. Like, there was no Colossus added to it. That a lot of people are down on it. There was no Storm. So if it's just that one bad fight, you're out.
Well, we have a little bit of a switch up here from Snute. We're not going for any Mutalisk play. It's just straight up into Hydras. Ooh. And he's trying to get... Ooh, wow. Very nice time where they're actually trapping a whole bunch of drones there as well and splitting the Hydras in 2. This is an excellent early engagement from Bling. Needs to be careful he doesn't lose too many of those sentries, though. But this has started very well.
Yeah, this is him turning that attack right around. I feel like he's barely saturated that 3rd, kind of making fun of what I was saying there. But in doing so, he's actually committed a little bit too much. He lost all his sentries. GG's immediately, and it's over. And I'll tell you what.
That started so well for Bling. And it felt like he pushed the issue just a little too far. And as long as he kept the sentries alive, he could move back and say, well, I've killed a bunch of Hydras, and wins round 2, right?
It was deceiving, Jarsar. It was beautiful force fields. It was good positioning, but 75% of that army was sentries, and they have 0 damage output for the most part. Well, okay, I'm being hyperbolic. They have very little damage output. Their range for their attack is quite short, so when they wander forward against a primarily Hydra army like that, they die extremely quickly. So I feel like had Bling perhaps taken that position, microed back the sentries, and had more of a Stalker base, I feel like that would have been one of those moments where we could have just as quickly seen Snute GG out of that game.
And you know, of course, that the sentries don't have, they don't have that many more force fields available. After you put down that initial set of force fields, you kill off 3 or 4 Hydras, and if you look at your sentries, you go, actually, I can't keep this up for too much longer. That's when you just pull back and say, I've only killed a few units, but I'm okay with it, and I survive and live to fight another day, right?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, again, with most of his army being sentries, going for the trap play there, you're going to lose sentries when it's mostly sentries like that. So it was more just that Bling probably should have taken a smaller fight, like trapped a lot less there. With his army consisting mostly of sentries, and then waited until he had more Stalkers. But it's such a funny mistake because again, we're not saying anything magical that Bling does not know, and it was just one of those moments where he's like, "Why are there drones here? Why is there 3 queens? Like I can take this fight."
Yeah.
And he did take that fight, but he lost all of his sentries, and without having the gas set as third, that was too much of an investment, and he knew he was dead. Did he GG a little bit too early? Probably, because he did kill quite a bit there, but it was just he knew Snute was on a healthy 3 bases with Hydras.
He could identify the opportunity, and he had that opportunity to poke and prod, but perhaps not necessarily to commit. And I feel like, I mean, I want to say there was a time when he could have pulled back with the sentries. I really, really do.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think the moment you commit to something like that, it's, well, either I die really quickly or he melts really quickly, and the Hydras just have so much DPS, right?
Hydras have a lot of DPS. Well, we're going to throw it over to the analysts as they break it down as well. I'd love to hear their thoughts.
Don't lie, Jeff. Love to hear your thoughts. He's already got his headset off. He's out of there. Anyway, guys, I guess 2 words, you know. God damn it, Bling.
God damn it, yeah. He was close. Honestly, he was close. He could have done it. The first game especially. The second game was a bit scrappy. But the first game, he was in a position where he was playing against a Zerg, which was purely on Hydralisk, nothing else, and has no Hive. And he was on 4 base at the end. He wasn't having the gas on the 4th base yet, but he had a 4th base, which is a great position against a Zerg, which is only on Hydralisk. And somehow he decided not to go for anything like Storm or Colossi, none of them, just pure gateway with Sentries and Immortals. But against Hydralisk, Immortals, who cares? Like, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't really help. It's a unit which takes actually a lot of damage from the Hydralisk, so it doesn't really work in this situation. And yeah, a few dodgy blinks into the armies and stuff like that, and it didn't work out. And as well in positioning, because with the amount of sentries he had, there is no way Azure can push down a ramp just with that army. He needs Infestors or Vipers or something to force the engagement. And he still managed with pure Hydra, because the Blink was out of position every time, and Azure could get a position in between the natural and the 3rd base. And that's the end, basically. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk some more about this, and I'll definitely bring you in, Penguin. But we're going to jump over to the victor. We've got James Banks with Snute right now. So let's see what he has to say about
Richard. I am joined by Snute. Does manage to take down the UK home hero. And well, we'll talk about the first game to start off with. Bling playing very patiently. Good play from him overall. But when it came to it, you just handled it so well. So what kind of went through, what happened on the first game there for you?
Yeah, so I wanted to play a little bit safely to open up with, and that's why I went for the big attack. It would be very safe against aggressive plays from Bling, for example. But he played just very safe, standard, and solid, so I wasn't able to do that much damage. So I was a bit afraid of a counterattack, but then I was able to drone on my 4th base, so I got a decent economy. But I don't know, I felt like that game was such an uphill battle because he just seemed to anticipate every single move I had. Like against the Mutas, he was completely prepared with 2 cannons in the main and the 2 Stargates and the Phoenix ready. So in the first game, I felt like strategically I was being, like he could read every single move I was trying to make. So I was pretty concerned about the second game. But in the first game, I was able to win because I feel like I was able to take some very advantageous fights. And maybe he made some mistakes with the engagements. But strategically, I felt like he could really read everything that I did. So I was really concerned going into the second one. But yeah, it turned out a little bit different.
Now, I was going to say on game 2 there, obviously, Blink could have potentially been in a good position there. And then all of a sudden, do you think he just gave up a little bit too quickly there?
He probably tried to take advantage of the fact that I used a 13-12, like 1-base speedling opening. But yeah, I think maybe the way to close it out was not the right one, like taking the 3rd Nexus and all. And I was I had a very well-positioned Overlord as well, so I could see that he was not making any probes anymore. And maybe it would have been better to just macro up, for example. I mean, it's a really tough call to make as Protoss because you know that you're ahead and you want to close the game out and it can be really strong. But yeah, I was able to make it work regardless. I'm not sure.
Now, for the final question here, obviously, True, we've just been speaking about this. Your win rate's actually worse against Jaedong than it is True. Now, what's your mindset going into these games now? You confident? Because I know you're a very emotional player, and we always see this from you. So, how's the feeling for you right now?
I think I'm a bit relieved that True was able to defeat Jaedong, but at the same time, I've been watching a lot of True's games recently, and he's been doing very well across all the matchups. So I'm kind of relieved because of the head-to-head advantage. Like, I feel like I'm in a decent spot against True, and in offline events, it's been fine. Like last Gfinity though, he beat me 2-0, but I feel like my condition now is a lot better than back then. I had a bit of an unfortunate travel, so I'm pretty excited for it, and I'm a little bit relieved as well that I don't have to play Jaedong. So I really hope I can beat True now, so I don't have to play Jaedong just yet.
Well, let's see how you get on with the rest of the tournament. Good luck as you go through. We're going to pass it back to the analyst desk right now.
So there you heard it. Snute is trying to avoid the dong. I mean, that's, good to live that way sometimes.
Okay.
We'll start with you, Penguin, just getting back to the series to really dig in. And I know you were glued to the screen there. I'm making all sorts of notes. It was like watching a beautiful mind. I can't wait to hear about it. But ultimately, I sort of agree with Snute's assessment there and a little bit what Stefano said. There might have been a tiny little window of opportunity for Bling, but he wasn't really able to take advantage.
Well, for the first game, the biggest problem with the first game is that we see games every now and then where a player going Massling Hydra does lose to Blink Stalker Immortal with like really, really good Blink control. Like we see Parting do that. We see some of the foreigners like Lilbo and Petit Drogo can do that. But the thing is, so like Bling was relying on just Blink Stalker Immortal, but the problem is you can also just put down a Templar Archives, get Storm, warp in like 5 Templar, and you just win. Like against the composition that Snute had, there's nothing against that. There's like the Hive was killed off, so there's no Vipers. Even against Vipers, like you get the feedbacks down. Against Templar, you really need Broodlords or Ultralisks, and he was nowhere close to having either of those two things. So if Bling had just gone for that, he would have been perfectly fine. He would have won the game. But he was relying on the much, much more dodgy composition where it's very possible with just one mistake, like one of those wrong blinks, you already lose the game. And he made a couple of them, which was a little bit rough. And the second game, it was just an all-in gambit. It was similar to what we saw Departure versus Bunny game number 3 in that series. He went for an all-in. He was hoping that he'd be able to hit a timing. It just wasn't really there because it's very, very difficult to know the timings of the Zerg when the Zerg opens with such a strange like 13-12 kind of opening because he didn't really commit. He just had six things made. He made a lot of drones behind it. He double expanded. So Bling wasn't really all that far ahead, and he went for the fake third as well. No probes there. The third was just completely as a distraction tactic, but it's expensive. It's 400 minerals, so it slows down the push just a little bit. And then he also, I was talking to Stefano during the game, and Stefano was thinking, yeah, maybe he can hit a little bit of a window before the Hydralisk range finishes, because that's when it gets really important, because Hydras with range can shoot over the force fields. But he ended up like planting another proxy pylon closer, and he waited by the pylon. He waited for the pylon to finish, which allowed time for the drones to be pulled, it allowed time for more Hydras to come out, and most importantly, it allowed time for the Hydra range to finish, which just allowed him to just stomp that army. Like, good force fields, it was as good an engagement as Bling was going to get, didn't matter. Like, Hydra range, pre-pulled drones, queens, to spines, just no chance.
I felt like the Nexus wasn't necessary, like the third Nexus being faked. Like, he wasted so much time, so much money on it. Like, the attack would have came up maybe 1.5 minutes before if he just went for the gateway inside his main base and just go attack. There was no Roach Warrior, if I'm not mistaken.
No Roach Warrior.
Only Zerglings against +1 Zealots and Hydralisk, no range, 1.5 minutes before. There wouldn't even be a Hydra Den, I think.
Yeah, and like, even if, like, because the thing is, he does the third base to sort of throw Snute off, but even if Snute sees no third and he knows it's a gateway all, and if it hits a minute and a half earlier, he's just going to die.
Yeah. It's just like he tried to do something too fancy for the situation. Like, he was kind of actually already ahead because the opponent went for speedling early on and delayed the hatchery, and he didn't do any damage with that. So he had like an investment which didn't do anything early on, and the opponent just went for Nexus first and was probing a lot. So good economy for the Protoss. And he tried to do something where he invests a lot of money in gateways and Nexus and make a wall and make pylons there and everything to fake. So the opponent believes it's just going to be economic. And then he wastes so much time doing nothing, and he goes out and there's already Hydralisk. So just, yeah, I don't think it was really well thought through, like, the whole situation. He didn't really expect it.
Well,
yeah.
he has just got back from holiday
in
Ibiza, so maybe there's still a little bit of brain fog going on there. You know, I know I used to do lads' holidays. It was
sometimes it can be helpful, you know, if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you would say that.
Yes,
true. Yeah. You would say that.
Yeah, strangely enough, I would say that.
Yeah, I thought you might. I know we probably can't really read too much into Snute's performance there. The real test is coming, as he said. You know, he wants to avoid playing Jaedong, so he's going to have fingers crossed for that. And let's let's talk a little bit about him. Can we say that, maybe because no one's picked him to win this?
I don't think he has been challenged yet by Bling. Right now, like the fights were really basic. He wasn't really multitasking or anything. He was just defending or attacking, very simple stuff. But against like Korean long games, you have to think a bit harder about like getting everything safe everywhere. Be sure nothing can happen. You don't have a single opening in your defense, and it's gonna be way harder. Like Bling was just a bit too straightforward, I think, in this kind of a game, and yeah.
All right. Well, look. Thanks for your thoughts. I think you're going to get back to the casters' room.
Yep.
You're going to go down to the dungeons there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick break now, and while we do that break, you're going to be able to see Jorisar's. He's got a little preview of things that have been going on there, and we're going to play that for you as well. So you might even want to stick around for the break. Please do. We'll get upset if you don't. But anyway, we will see you in about 10 more minutes. Don't go too far.
He's going in for it. He's trying to take down the spine crawler. He's going for the queen. There are not a lot of units. The drone's coming off the mineral line. That's never a good sign. He is 8 ahead right now. He can lose a few, but the spine crawler goes down.
Biggest victim, by the way, in this game right now. Oh my god, get out of there, get out of there, it's all starting. There goes the gob off, he's got no idea where to run.
Break the chains that you pull away. I feel the fear when you're looking at.
Check this out.